My guest today, serial entrepreneur, founder and CEO of 506 AI, chairman of AI Upper Austria. Welcome, Gerhard. We have no leaders in AI in Europe.
We have two problems in that. On one hand, we're missing some really good processes from lab to market, bringing research to a real good fitting scalable product. We have a hidden problem that in Europe nobody likes to speak about. How important is sales? Sales in the US is on the same level as product and service development. In Europe, not. We hired 2.5 years later on C-level a growth officer than the US, and we need 5 years longer to reach 100 billion ARR. Every change is scary. It's not only AI, it's every change. When you're not scared, you are in control, and we have to learn faster how to work with AI. Then we can provide us and also the economy and the people about the danger of that.
Hello and welcome to Let's Talk About Tech, your podcast on venture capital and private equity, brought to you by Venionaire Capital, the entrepreneurial partners. In today's episode, we will speak about AI and how it is changing the future with Gerhard Kürner, my guest today, serial entrepreneur, founder and CEO of 506 AI, chairman of AI Upper Austria. Welcome, Gerhard.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Gerhard, it's a great pleasure to have you. There are so many experts in AI today, but you are really shaping the industry, digitalization and cultural change as an IT manager since the 90s. Tell us a bit about your story.
Yes, of course. It's more or less, I think, 20 to 30 years right now where I'm directly in the intersection of IT and business development. In mid-90s, I started with implementing CDI. It was an interactive CD-ROM. It sounds like it's 1,000 years ago. With the first internet services in Austria, I also deployed the first streaming services for TV stations in Austria, private TV. Austria was, I think, the last one in Europe with their own private TV industry. And then around the 2000s, I was engaged at First Alpine. First Alpine in that area was bringing up a lot of new digital services, and I started there for IT management. I was also there, I think, 6 to 7 years in M&A in the automotive industry in IT. So I know a lot of industry normal processes and data-based processes in businesses. And after a while, then I was also speaker of the board of the First Alpine. In that area, we grew from 3.6 billion to 12 billion. So it was a hell of a ride in that area. I also integrated a lot of companies in Asia and North America. So I could build up a huge network around the globe, which is extremely important also right now to find out what kind of technology fits actual or for the current position of your business. Because as you mentioned in the AI area, right now there are really also a lot real AI people, because 2 years ago there was a lot of fake AI people. They saw 2 or 3 YouTube videos and then they said, I'm the specialist about that. Right now, I think there's a lot of people who have a lot of knowledge. And this global network is very, very important to see what's going on in business, IT and AI outside of the European Union, to see where are you and what kind of level are you in the competition in that place. And after the First Alpine, I founded a digital agency. We grew from 90 to 65 people within 3 years. And in that area, I went deeper and deeper in database activities. And in that area, we found out, and I especially found out, that there is no possibility to process all that data manually. With classical IT. So we started with data science project. A colleague of mine in the company is Andreas Stöckl, is professor in Hagenberg, one of the best known cluster LLM researcher in Upper Austria also. And in that area, we saw first time AI. It was, I think, GPT-3 or so, and BERT and all the other ones. And as the first time that we saw them, it was shocking. Because we did with FFG, Forschungsförderungsprojects, 2 years, over 1 million euros spending in processes and products in data science and machine learning. And this damn thing could do everything out of the box better than we developed the last 2 or 3 years. So this was a game changer also in my mind, that you see there is not a new step, it's a completely new revolution what's coming up to us. And this was 2020. And this is the area where I founded in 506 AI. In that time, it was, I think, January 2020 we started. It was one of the hardest time because since March of 2020, we have a complete different business situation, COVID and all the other stuff. So it was hell of a ride and very, very interesting for me, because it was a development every year after year.
So you really jumped into the poly crisis starting your latest business.
It was not the best way to start with the most crisis, because I know a lot about 2008 and 9, the financial crisis. I know the crisis around 2000, where everybody thought PCs would end because this 2000 problem. But I never saw such a serial crisis period since we have 2020, and it was hard for us and hard for other ones also to compare and to grow a startup in that area.
We'll speak about the competitiveness and impact of AI a bit later in this talk. Very much looking forward to that. But let me start with, we already had a few AI experts here in this podcast format. And what was interesting for me is we have a lot of talent. We seem to have amazing science. We have basically a good setup in Europe, right? With all the grants and the support in research. Yet we don't have any trailblazers. We have no leaders in AI in Europe. Where do we really stand from your insights?
Oh, that's thank you for that. Because as you mentioned, we have a lot of really good research people. We have also, I think, 40% more IT or developer than the US. 40% more. So we have a lot of IT
per capita.
Yeah, no, overall. In summary. So because the European university bring out much more informatica than the US ones. We have two really problems in that. On one hand, we're missing some really good processes from lab to market. So bringing research to a real good fitting scalable product. It's not easy. We have a hidden problem that in Europe nobody likes to speak about. It's how important is sales. Because I will mention it later. Sales in the US is on the same level as product and service development. In Europe, not. We hired 2.5 years later on C-level a growth officer than the US, and we need 5 years longer to reach 100 billion area. So we have in that area, we have a real problem in our thinking. On the other hand, there are a lot of smaller issues because on one hand, US companies who buy startups, they took more risk than European companies. They have budgets where they say, okay, we do that with this startup, and we know it's a little bit risky. You can't do that in Europe. So this buy European and this I will buy European technology is one thing which we are missing a little bit, and where everybody can work on it. And the other one is we do not have a common market in the European Union. So it's quite hard to scale about different countries sometimes, which is also easier there. So there are a lot of smaller issues. But when you take a look at the TUM in Munich, or you look to Station F in France, or you look to Switzerland, Genf, Geneva, Zurich, Lausanne, there's a lot of huge and very, very good startups there, or Spain. We have all the ingredients there. We only bring it more together and more focus on it and more push it to bring it up. And we have to buy European first to build really players, because it isn't that we have a small startup. We need a real huge player. Except SAP, we do not have this huge players. And the larger ones, they have to go to the next level.
So we need to have a tech company entering the Magnificent 7 world, or maybe make it a Magnificent 10. This is basically what you're saying. We need to get into the forefront of the tech leaders.
Yeah, that would be really the nice picture and the best picture for the future. I think when we have some sort of in the middle, that you have, let me say, companies who can do real enterprise businesses in Europe. They have the possibility to make research on their own, have the possibility to do M&A, because M&A on group, traditional historical industry groups are not there. No group are normally investing in M&A in startups or bring them in. And so we have to build this up more, because without that, we are not in the situation to bring in a real player for Europe.
Are you investing yourself in companies?
Yes, of course. Not right now, because I'm fighting for 506, and also in AI Up Austria. Together, we are a group of people who are working. I'm helping sometimes funds to analyze what kind of business model is behind this so-called AI technology. But right now, the main focus is on 506 AI.
Okay, gotcha. I mean, usually, if an investor says, I'm not investing right now, it usually just means not in you, right? So if something really great comes to your table, I'm sure you'll take a close look. Let's come back to the topic. Unemployment is high. We just heard this lately in the news. We have seen competitiveness has been decreasing. The European Union has been struggling through geopolitical developments, but also the tariff situation. How is AI changing in the environment here? Or how could AI help the European Union to increase competitiveness?
I think AI is one or the best possibility to bring up the competition readiness that we need, and to solve a lot of problems that still exist. Because, as you mentioned, unemployment rate is high. Yes, that's for sure, because Austria is right now on the last place in BIP growth. So that's quite normal. But on the other hand, we have too low human capital to grow. A lot of good companies are searching, and the unemployed that we have, they need some help to bring them on a higher level in work. And to bring such people in higher level work, AI is the best possibility, because you can't bring, let me say, a truck driver to a senior development through a so-called course over the next 6 months in that area. So we have both possibilities when we do right now the right things.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is, if you have a low-skilled, working class, unemployed person with the right AI agents and teaching them how to prompt correctly, they could actually solve more delicate and higher end problems and actually qualify for a better job.
Yes, of course. I would go one step ahead of this, because, as you said, an assistant agent, whatever you call it, with the right prompts. No, take your handy, put on one button your thumb, and speak with your phone in your language that you prefer to speak. It's the easiest way to interact with a machine, a computer, or whatever. So everybody in production facilities, in logistics, a lot where different cultures, different languages in. Speak in your phone, ask a question about the company, about the work you do, and got speech back. It's the simplest and easiest way to bring normal people to the next level. Audio and mobile phone will change everything in that area.
I've been saying that voice is the next user interface for many years now. I was a bit wrong with the timing. I thought it would come much, much earlier. But at least people are now starting to use voice much more. You shared with me just before this podcast that your younger son just developed a software product. And he doesn't have a user interface anymore. It's just by voice. What did he do?
Yeah, that's quite funny. I have 3 sons, and 22, 20, and 14. And Max, the 14-year-old, is from the gymnasium. He do not know to code or anything in that area, but he started vibe coding because it was fun for him. And then he said he needed a project, and I gave him a business idea to make a streaming services for restaurants where you pay normal AKM and rights. And he tried to do it by, I think he used both. And the quite funny thing is, when you give people AI tools in their hand, when they do not have any experience about software development, front end, and everything else, they come up with completely other ideas. And that's for me such an amazing thing, because As I asked him when he showed me the front end, how to use this kind of software, he said, no, there is no window for text. I said, but how you handle the user interface is this button. What's that button? Put on the button, speak with the computer. Do not give texting, say what you want. He show you what you want and do it now. So it become a completely new idea how to interact with machines. And this is, let me say, the new world. It's some sort of the glimpse of the future when you see how a 14-year-old without any coding knowledge buy a completely new user interface. And such possibilities in the hand of every European is the best possibility for the future.
So basically, it became again easier to also start a business. So if you have a creative idea, you don't need to hire your developers, but you need to make sure that you have quality assurance. How do you assure that this AI-built product is safe and has a good enough quality to be deployed?
Okay, that's a very good point, because sometimes, as I mentioned to you earlier a little bit, is also that when people read about AI and the growth of the market, they put all in one basket and say, this is AI. But you have to split it up in consumer and in enterprises. And everything what we see, hear, and read is consumer. Okay. No IT department buys 1,000 licenses of Bold or Windsurf or whatever. The developer by themselves with their own credit cards buy a license of that. So it's a little bit a difference. But when you say this sort of vibe coding, or people who do not really understand the technology, when they make huge mistakes, as you see sometimes when the API key is visible and everybody can grab this, or some data, they have not the real AI competence which they need. Because normally, as Andreas, the professor from Hagenberg, they also do coding with AI. But on one hand, he makes such sort of a Pflichtenheft. Then he put it in small parts. One AI part is coding, and two other AIs are proving the code about security, cyber security, and every stuff. So you must know exactly how you work with AI. Then you can solve also the problems, because the problems are solvable. Normally, you do not have to know how to solve it. But if you use also AI to solve that, you are in a much better way, and you can, not in the enterprise right now, but in the consumer area, you can do a lot. And as you mentioned, I think there was no such time right now that everybody, even my 14-year-old son, can start a business of their own.
That's amazing.
A completely new area in which we are in.
And at 506 AI in your company, you're tackling the enterprise market.
Yes.
So you're making sure that it's compliant AI, and I would suppose also with resistance, or some sort of resistance within the organizations. How do you drive change, and how do you bring AI to large corporates?
Yeah, everybody hears and see that you're an insider on the same level that because the enterprise issue is a complete different game than the consumer market. And in that area, you need not only technology, like our 506 AI middleware platform is. You have no vendor login, you have all the security issues, you have all the GDPR issues. There's a lot of things in which you need normally for enterprises. They are not very sexy for the AI people, but they're extremely important for enterprises. Security, multi-factor authentication, and such things. But you have to bring in also some sort of consulting. You have to help people to integrate it, because if you give only technology into the company, 100%, fully 100% it will be a failure. Failure means they stop this initiative 6 months later, because when you have an update of your Office or your Word, okay, this is a new version, but the old one, it was a Word, you can write text and such things. With AI, you do not have any historical information. So managing expectation is really huge. Some people are scared, and other ones think they can do right now every job in the company. So you have to bring in that, and people have to understand it's not a side project, and it's not a trending topic. It's more or less a complete change of your business. Also in the area like manufacturing and co, because in the manufacturing, if two people are ill and you can't produce because your shift went down, it would be a huge improvement if two people with an AI assistant can run the shift.
Right.
So nobody is not in that area right now, because very often people, as 1 year ago, we buy some sort of license, let me say Copilot, and then we are 40% more productive. Bullshit. Nobody went to 40% only to buy an license. So normally you have a so-called J-curve. The J-curve means you have to invest in the beginning. And your productivity went a little bit down, not up. And only afterwards you went up. And also, but that can we discuss later, is you need, on one hand, what kind of use cases you can now bring into the company, the easy one. And on the other hand, challenge every day your business model for the, let me say, short, midterm, 3 to 5 years. Because your business model in every case will change in the next 3 to 5 years.
This J-curve is a core business in venture capital, right? So invest to grow faster.
Okay, it's not in IT, not in AI normally. Everybody think it's a linear ROI when you start with AI.
I know. We have had talks with corporates that wanted to invest in some sort of startups and scale-ups, right? But this linear trajectory doesn't exist. It's always a J-curve, right? You have to invest to improve, and then you grow faster. And you basically end up at a higher grade again. And then you have to have next J-curve, right? It's evolving, curve after curve. Now, in around this topic of AI, there is a lot of criticism. I just lately saw on the TV that the high energy consumption is a huge concern. One of the biggest data centers in Europe is actually in the UK by NTT. And there's a new plant in discussion. The mayor is against it because the cooling systems would take so much water. The energy consumption is a concern for the grid. Right. So it's so much energy consumption that the grid could be destabilized.
Yes.
And this is quite worrying, right? Because we see this AI trends. We see at the forefront more and more software. Kids are bringing new products into markets. But then again, the bottleneck is actually the hardware. Now, we're proud investors in a company that is in photonic computing from Germany.
Congratulations for that. Really good move.
That's it's called q.ant, q.ant.com. Check it out. And what they changed basically is they will improve from the CMOS area to a post-CMOS area to a photonics area by nonlinear computing. Now, with this coming into the market, what do you think has to be done that Europe stands a chance to be a driver in this game again?
I think, again, congratulations for, I'm not so deep in that technical area, but it's a really, really bold and good move. Why? Right now, everybody is running for new clouds and data centers. And normally it's not a question about money. It's a question, like you mentioned, only power. So a lot of investments in that area is called dollar for watt and not for CPU, GPU, or whatever. We can't do that in Europe. Even we had the money and somebody comes, nobody can say in the middle of Bonn, you make 5 football fields, large one, complete. So there's no possibility in that area. And we shouldn't also not think about bring such data center to Europe because it's not fitting here. I think we have to learn very fast how we can grow this on your own. And as you mentioned, your investment is a crucial role in that area because we do have a problem on energy and we do care about environment and such thing. It shouldn't be a stop factor as it was in the past very often. We have to bring such new technology which are very close when you bring it in comparison to quantum computing. And we have to think about right now, when this is ready in the next couple of years, how we can quickly move in. Because on one hand, you need such a technology for inference and for all that stuff, but you need also everything around. That's often a problem. Everything, the application, the service layer around such cloud and data centers is really, really important because when you're building up application software for enterprises or startups, you need the whole stuff. That's the reason why very often startups and companies are in the area of the hyperscaler because they do not have only the cloud center, they have all the applications around. So I think right now is to start thinking about if let me say, your investment company is ready to market, which I think could be possible in the next couple of years, much faster than every quantum computing thing. What's the possibility to step in then? And you have to start right now to think about that.
I can actually confirm that the foundry is up and running. We're shipping the chips already. The first hyperscaler in Germany has installed them already in, I believe it's Leipzig.
Yeah.
And what's really stunning is that they're much faster than expected, much more accurate. In photonics, accuracy was the big problem. And they have up to 30x energy savings, right? So there's a lot of reasons why this is game changing. And as I said, it's already shipping for research, right? If you want to buy a PCI 6 express card for your own computer, it's a bit expensive today, but you can actually get it from Quant.
But it's there.
Plug it in.
It's there. It's not future music.
No, it's not science fiction anymore. You can put it into your PC at home and start working on it. And it's a coexistence. And in this change, right? It's an evolving technology. I think the big game changer is the nonlinear solving of code, right? So the nonlinear problems can be actually natively solved on such chips, and that's a huge game changer forward. Now, when we look at all these improvements on the hardware level, right, on the software level, and I'm sure with the investment that they just gathered, they will do a lot around the software stack to get it into the market and make it available to more hyperscalers around the world. Now, a big concern always is the security, right? So how do we stay secure with using AI, having those automated machines working for us in the companies, in the corporates? You said there's this compliance issues, there's risk management issues, etc. Is that even possible with implementing AI that we stay safe?
Yes, of course. It's possible. I think Austria and Germany is also golden plating the GDPR issue, but it's possible. When you know exactly what you do, when you know how you process your data, how secure, and everything, which every functionality which you know from normal enterprise applications, bring them to the AI area and think about how and where and when is your AI machine, the LLM or whatever, running, like zero state, and like it's only, let me say, an API endpoint for you in your private customer key cloud solution, then it's quite easy possible. The main reason is the missing know-how of IT and other departments, how you can run really secure such things. Because sometimes it's a discussion about on-premise versus cloud. This is not a discussion about AI. That's a discussion, let me say, a political discussion about that. But then you can bring it in and you can run it very safely, because it's more or less about your data and not the LLM alone. And especially when you mentioned technology like that you said is coming up, you are in some sort of a cloud area. And you can do everything what you want, secure, GDPR compliant, and so on. You must have the knowledge, or you use somebody, as we prefer, a supplier as we are with 506, who bring that know-how and the so-called middleware to you or to your company.
So your AI middle layer that you're providing is already ring-fencing around GDPR and takes care about those compliance issues, and it's not a big headache anymore for the IT department.
No, we had financial, we have a lot of public, like the city of Linz and other ones, which are not only on behalf of GDPR compliant, also on some sort of political compliance. So they say nobody wants that customer data went out or something else. And yes, we do not have a vendor login because we can change the LLMs. We have an API first strategy, that so you can work with front end and the administration, but you can integrate it. It's a private cloud running only in Germany, and the other stuff is only running in the EU. And the complete application is wrote by our own. It's more than 300,000 lines of code. So we do not use, is a proprietary hypercloud services. So you have a possibility to have no vendor login. You can use it for 75 to 80% of your use cases in the company, and you can integrate it via API. So you have completely freedom, which is important because you can now start and on the way make the decision, buy or build. Because sometimes it makes sense also to build something within your company. sometimes it makes no sense to build something. And this is the very important issue that compliant, very fast, with no vendor login, you can start within days and not months.
So you're basically leveraging on the fundamental layers that are available open source or commercially out there in the markets with your middle layer on top by not sharing critical information with the fundamental layer.
Yeah.
That's impressive. I'd highly recommend to have a meeting with this gentleman. It's, this is heavy lifting. As congratulations for achieving that. Now, with everything we discussed, right, and this change that we see happening, a lot of people again are scared about new technologies.
Yeah.
Even Sam Altman is scared of version 5 of OpenAI. I was stunned when I heard that, right? So there is respect from that. Also, Elon Musk shared that the next generative AI might be critical, right? So how do you see that? Do we have to be scared, or what shall we do, right, to overcome this fear?
I think scaring technology change or innovation is some sort of normal, especially in Austria. Every change is scary. It's not only AI, it's every change. And as you mentioned before also, with this new sort of technology, there are coming up a lot of things which normal people, consumer, never expected. When you see an avatar of me, it's on the phone, you can't say, is this real, Gerhard, or is this a KI development avatar? So there will be a lot of that stuff. Scaring about things, it could be scaring, but as in one of the science fiction movies, A Man in Black, what kind of future are you scared? Because there's a lot of different steps in different futures that we can live. So if we do not have, let me say, some rules, if we do not have some, let me say, possibilities to think about what the AI should do, yes, of course, then you could be scared. But when you think about AI is some sort of a tool, a very intelligent tool, then you do not must be scared, because when you're not scared, you are in control. And when you think a little bit more about the enterprises, in that complex area of enterprises, like Asians, but somebody mentioned MCP before I come to you. MCP is a quite nice thing, but not in the enterprise area. My 14-year-old son will crack it within minutes on security reasons. So there's a lot of smaller issues around which are stopping this scareness for the future. I think we should not scare. I think we should go in and learn, as we could scare for cars in the beginning. It's better not to scare about cars. It's more about learn, drive the car. Then you know exactly where the danger is and where the benefit in it is. We have to learn faster how to work with AI. Then we can provide us and also the economy and the people about the danger of that.
And it's, as you explained it, it's so easy to start working with AI. So I would highly recommend everyone to actually jump into this rabbit hole and work and, get familiar with what's possible in the new age of artificial intelligence. I hope you guys are not scared. If you are, drop us a comment. Write us what you think about AI, where the future goes, and what you will take from this talk for yourself. It was a pleasure having you, Gerhard. It was really, really an interesting talk. I tune in for the next episode. It was great having you. Please subscribe to our channels and come back next time. Bye-bye.